guys, welcome back to the podcast. So many of you guys have been asking about skin health. And so we're going to talk about acne in this podcast. You guys are going to get so much good quality information about this. We're going to talk about the root cause factors that cause skin irritation and acne. We're going to talk about the best foods, the foods you need to avoid, the best foods to consume, key nutrients that you need to be on the lookout for. We're going to talk about some functional testing that can help you understand the root cause of skin issues like acne. And so I've got my friend, Dr. Shayna Peter. She's a functional medicine doctor and holistic dermatology specialist. She's helped hundreds who've tried everything for their skin problems. She's been left feeling frustrated, helpless, and hopeless. She is the founder of Well Ahead Chicago, a functional medicine practice offering health consulting and educational resources for people of unresolved skin conditions. Dr. Peter is the author of It's Not Just Acne. Really good book, guys. We're going to talk a lot about this book, but really great book. It's Not Just Acne. And she's been published in the Journal of American Academy of Dermatology, and she's spoken about holistic health on numerous stages, including Chicago Women Magazine and the American Diabetes Association. So, Dr. Peter, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Dr. David. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be joining in on this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start by just talking about your book. What was the inspiration for writing this?
Yeah, so what led me to writing the book, so it was really inspired by the exact same principles that I use in my practice to help people that have been struggling with acne and want to heal from the inside out. And so I wanted to put the book out there. I was looking at books on acne, and I didn't really see any books that really delved into functional medicine that really help people to understand, how it can help them, what all holistic medicine has available that can help them, not just to treat acne, but really get to the underlying cause. And you and I both know acne is such a huge problem. About 80% of the population between the onset of puberty and age 30 deal with acne at some point. So it's a huge, huge issue. And I wanted to make the information accessible to people. And even seeing people in my practice, even if I'm working with them one-on-one, the book is a great reference for them to help reinforce a lot of the things that I'm teaching them. I am someone who struggled with acne, so I know the struggle. I started my career, on the conventional path of dermatology. And while I was in medical school, I really started struggling with acne for the first time in my life. And, so that was the irony there.
Yeah.
And I went through a lot of what conventional medicine had to offer, the antibiotics, different medications, topical medications, the skincare, the aesthetic treatments, all of those things. And, none of it gave me any lasting relief. So if I noticed some relief, the minute I stopped it, it came back. So at that point, I knew that the root cause wasn't really being addressed. And so while I was dealing with that on a personal level, I was in medical school at the same time. So I was also seeing patients with acne, with, all the way from mild to severe acne, seeing the options that were available to them, dealing with their parents. And a lot of the parents had a lot of really serious and valid concerns about their kids being put on birth control, things like Accutane with a lot of very serious side effects. And they wanted to know, what other alternatives were available to them. So that's kind of the backstory behind the book and how I got into functional medicine.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's always interesting when somebody has gone through the experience and kind of has a pain to purpose story where they've dealt with the health challenge that they then become an expert in because they've walked down that path. And would you say that the three most prescribed medications for acne are antibiotics, birth control pills, and what's the other one? Like a synthetic vitamin A, is that correct?
Accutane.
Yeah, Accutane, right?
I would add in spironolactone too.
Let's go into what the medical profession, before we get into functional medicine, what they're thinking when they think about acne and why they treat with those things.
So it's funny because, on some level in conventional medicine, it is being acknowledged that it's, an internal issue, especially if it's
Yeah.
more severe. So the spironolactone is meant to modulate hormones and block the testosterone.
Right.
Um, the Accutane is meant to, so it's a synthetic form of vitamin A, so it's meant to control the sebum production.
Yeah.
The antibiotics are meant to deal with bacterial overgrowth.
Right. Because there's like typically like some sort of infection at the skin level, right? That's
Yeah,
associated with it.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And internally, yeah, that ends up expressing itself through the skin.
Yep. Now let's talk about the root cause factors that we're looking at in functional medicine that contribute to acne.
Yeah, so there can be a lot of them. So that's one of the reasons why acne can be so difficult to treat sometimes, because
Yeah.
it is very multifactorial, and people a lot of times are, and it's not their fault. We've been conditioned to think about acne as being a matter of, using the right skincare products, unless it's very severe. So some of the key root causes that I like to look into are gonna obviously be things like nutritional deficiencies. So that's one of, the first things that I like to look at, and I'm always reminding people, nutrition is the foundation of health. We've all heard that, right?
That's right.
So that's one of the chapters in the book where I go through some of the key nutritional deficiencies. So I couldn't go into all of them, but I tried to pick the key ones that I see the most commonly in people that are suffering from acne. So things like vitamin A deficiency, vitamin D, zinc, B6, chromium, things along those lines. Very common patterns in people that have acne. So of course, if you want to have, a long-term resolution, you've got to address those things. So you don't want to just keep using skincare and ignoring something, fundamental like that.
Yeah, those nutrients are really key. I would also add maybe omega-3s, and I know you talked about that in the book as well, right? Getting healthy fats in. Yep.
Yeah, omega-3s are huge for, bringing down inflammation, and also helping to control the sebum production so that the sebum is not too viscous and clogging the pores. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So nutritional deficiencies, that's one of the big root cause factors. What are the other things?
Yeah, so gut health is going to be a huge factor.
Yeah.
So gut health is obviously very broad. So I'm going to try to break that down, for your audience, so they're following. So certainly bacteria. So, derangements in the gut microbiome. So things like bacterial overgrowth, fungal overgrowth, parasite infections can all be problematic, and then set the stage for things like leaky gut. So that's, a really trendy topic these days. And for those who aren't familiar with that term, leaky gut is when the intestinal barrier is compromised. So the barrier between the digestive tract and the bloodstream is not as strong as it should be. So these large molecules are able to travel through and cause inflammation throughout the body. So that can be a huge factor for people. And that can lead to food sensitivity. So both of those things.
Yeah.
So the leaky gut, derangements, imbalances in the gut microbiome can trigger food sensitivity. So another way of causing inflammation. So that's really what it boils down to, is figuring out where the inflammation is coming from a lot of different angles. And obviously hormone balance is going to be a factor. So a lot of times that's what people think of first, is I've got something's wrong with my hormones. And a lot of time that's true. But what I try to help people understand is how all of the different ways that our hormones impact other parts of the body and vice versa.
Right. Right. Because if you have high testosterone, right, whether you're a man or a woman, there's a reason for that. There's a root
Right.
cause of that. Like with women, we see that with insulin resistance and PCOS,
Exactly.
and you talk about that in the book. With men, it could be an insulin issue as well. It could be obviously, steroids that they're taking or something along those lines that can be a factor. So there's root causes for those hormone imbalances, and we got to get to those root causes.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the part that's missing a lot of times with conventional medicine is they just, try to regulate the hormone in some way and don't address the cause.
Yeah, that's why they'll give like birth control, right?
Exactly.
Something along those lines. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So
now you
those
also
would be
talk a lot about the liver too in the book as one of the key factors, toxins and the liver.
Yeah. So toxins in the liver can be a major factor. So as far as identifying root causes, that's not something that I always test for directly. I usually look for other markers that, may suggest that there's some liver dysfunction. But that's an area where, we all have to be conscious. We live in an environment where we're just going to be exposed to toxins quite a bit. And so we have to be very diligent to minimize our toxic load and our toxic exposure as much as we can. And especially with skincare, a lot of times if people are using a lot of skincare products to treat a skin condition like acne, they're using all these different products and the ingredients may not be the best. It can be a lot of chemicals in a lot of the products that contribute to our toxic load and can get into the bloodstream, mimic hormones, and stress out the liver, put more stress on the liver, and contribute to that hormone imbalance. So it can be like this forward feeding cycle.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And so, another big factor that I've seen as well, and there's some research on this, is low stomach acid. So people not being able to produce enough stomach acid, which can lead to nutrient deficiencies, can also lead to infections in the gut. And there's definite association between that and acne.
So going back to talking about the gut and imbalances in the gut microbiome, a lot of time the overgrowth, it can set the stage for low stomach acid. Yeah. And so if that's not corrected, even if a person, takes digestive enzymes, if you don't get to the root of, why the low stomach acid is there, why the low digestive function is there, then you're not going to be able to resolve it.
For sure. What do you like to do to get to the root cause? Like what sort of labs do you like to see? Any other sort of testing that you like to do?
Yeah. So for labs, I'm a huge fan of checking nutritional deficiencies. So people that see me and know me, they know that I think that that's so foundational, and there's so much information that you can extrapolate from that, about the way that other organ systems are functioning.
Yeah. Which test do you like to use for that?
So I use different ones. I probably used the SpectraCell the longest, but
the
I've used a number
test,
of them.
SpectraCell, yeah. Yeah, it's a good lab. Looks for a lot of things.
Yeah, I love that one. Some other tests. I'm a big fan of checking for leaky gut. For checking for leaky gut, using blood tests, and for a few reasons, and I kind of touched on that a little bit in the book. Checking for lipopolysaccharide, so antibodies to lipopolysaccharide, one of the toxins that's produced by a lot of the bad bacteria in the gut. I'm really a fan of using that because it can give us, information about both things. So if there's, if the intestine is compromised, and then if there's a lot of bacterial overgrowth, typically you'll see that. So I find it to be, just a wealth of information, from both of those. I'm definitely a fan of checking hormones.
What testing do you like to use for hormones? Do you do the Dutch test? Do you do salivary?
Yeah, I've used them both. I love the
Okay. Yeah.
Dutch, but I've used them. Yeah, I've used all of them. I've done serum. I've
Yeah.
done some of the more general saliva tests, and I've used the Dutch
Yeah.
as well.
So for the listeners there, the Dutch is a dried urine test for comprehensive hormones. That's kind of what that means. Dutch, DUTCH. We do offer that on drjockers.com. Also, a lot of functional practitioners like Dr. Peter can help you get set up with that. It's a great test. Really looks at, your cortisol levels, how you're metabolizing cortisol, your estrogen, all your different subtypes of estrogen, testosterone. Really gives a lot of good information. So that is a great test. There's also salivary adrenal hormone testing, which has been used for quite a long time. Dutch is more relatively new, but a lot of practitioners are moving towards that because I feel like it gives, like a more wide variety of data, right? Like just a more broad range of data than the salivary. So I like that a lot. What are you using for LPS and gut permeability? What labs do you like to look at?
So I have used Cyrex and I have used Vibrant.
Okay, yes, Cyrex Labs, which is a great lab. They really do a lot of great testing. You know what I've used as well? One to look at is Dunwoody Labs has a gut permeability. Yeah, like histidine in there and DAO. Yep, looks at like your histamine levels and how you're metabolizing histamine, zonulin, LPS, right? All that kind of stuff. That's a good one too. Yeah.
And they're in Atlanta.
That's right. Yep. So guys, just so you know, we're talking shop here. I always like talking with cutting edge functional practitioners because we get to talk about what labs we like and you guys get to listen in on this. So it's always good. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Any other labs that you're looking at with that? You're looking at blood work, like comprehensive blood analysis or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I'm a really big fan, especially if they're local. I like to run those things, things like a CBC, a comprehensive metabolic panel. I do like to see iron panels as well for the hormones, thyroid panels.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to see.
Are you looking at like fasting insulin, hemoglobin A1C, any of those blood sugar markers?
Yeah. So, like more of a cardiometabolic panel.
Yeah.
I love that because, people get their comprehensive metabolic panel. When they have their annual checkup, most people have access to something like that. And the thing about it is, unless they're out of range, they're told everything is normal. So I like to see that so that I can look at it within the functional lens. And I like to look at some other markers so that I can get some other markers of blood sugar regulation so that I can look at it from different angles. Because sometimes people can be, within a decent range, but then there are other signals, that point to blood sugar dysregulation or the beginning stages of insulin resistance. And what I always try to remind people is, with those serum tests, it's just a snapshot in time. So if you have some other things you can compare that reflect a longer time period, that's always beneficial.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So if somebody was just getting some basic panels, let's say they were getting a complete blood count, a metabolic panel, and let's say lipids and liver enzymes. Okay, that was all kind of be part of like their insurance, and they were just getting that done. If they could add 5 tests to that blood work, right, that they could ask their doctor and their doctor would run them, what would you like to see? Like, would you like to see vitamin D, insulin? What would be your?
Yeah, so I would think insulin, vitamin D would be part of that. Yeah, but definitely insulin, hemoglobin A1C.
Yeah, that's a good one.
CRP.
Yeah,
they
CRP.
could get them to run that.
Right. That's an inflammatory marker, so really good measurement there to look at inflammation.
Those would be the biggest ones that I could think of off the top that they could get with their doctor.
Yeah, those would all definitely be good ones. Let's see. You could also run like something like a homocysteine, which kind of helps, see how your body's metabolizing B vitamins like B12 and folate and B6. And so that sometimes I can give like a little window in there too. So that's a good one too that I would add in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about some of the top food triggers, because you mentioned earlier how a lot of people with acne, they're really, one of the things that's triggering and flaring them up are food sensitivities, because they have leaky gut, which of course is the root cause. But what are the most common food triggers you're seeing?
Yeah, so the most common food triggers, definitely gluten. Gluten's a huge one for those people who aren't familiar with the term. So typically the way gluten is defined, it's in wheat, barley, rye, oats, those grains. It's the broader definition of, what gluten free is.
Yeah, it's not just wheat. There are other grains, barley, rye. What is there anything else? Wheat, barley, rye. It can be cross-contaminated with oats. Amaranth can be another one, right? But yeah, you want to definitely make sure you're looking at going gluten-free. I think that's important. What else?
Yeah, dairy's a huge one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, huge. Yeah, especially with acne.
Yeah, dairy's huge for a couple of different reasons. So not only is it allergenic, damages the intestinal lining, that type of thing, but some of the proteins in whey, they also stimulate a hormone called insulin-like growth factor, which has been studied a lot in acne, that provokes acne in a lot of people, and they may not necessarily show up as being sensitive to dairy, on a food sensitivity test.
Right. Yeah. Sure. Makes sense. Yeah.
Sugar.
Yeah. Right.
Sugar, anything with sugar, anything that feeds, bacteria and fungi, creates inflammation, it's going to be a no-no. Things like alcohol can really be major culprits. Fried foods that, just have a lot of unhealthy oils.
Yeah, bad rancid oils.
Yeah, bad rancid oils that are going to contribute to throwing off that omega-6 to omega-3 ratio that I talk a little bit about in the book. So that drive inflammation. So that's a huge thing that people have to be conscious of with the standard American diet, is we generally don't get enough healthy omega-3s.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would add in, like basically just what you said, like those fried oils. You also have rancid fats in there, right? So not only are they high omega-6, like corn oil, soybean oil, but they're also like damaged fats that have, they're highly reactive in the body, create a lot of oxidative stress and inflammation. And there's also trans fats, right? So you think about like partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. And then just when you cook with corn oil, you're creating trans fats, right? And so that's going to cause problems. I remember growing up, we used to get vegetable oil because, we thought, well, it's vegetables, right? So it must be healthy. Yeah. And we would cook eggs and stuff like with that. And I could almost just feel it in the air. I could like feel my skin reacting to it as a teenager, even as it was just being cooked in the air. And I was just like, oh, I just can't even be around this. And it really literally will, because it's releasing free radicals. It can interact with you in the air if you're cooking with that. So really toxic stuff. And then when you're cooking, like making French fries, for example, you're cooking down the starch in these bad oils, and you're creating acrylamide, and you're creating like all of these other highly reactive compounds that can be really damaging. So yeah, fried foods, definitely a big one. Now, some people react to chocolate too. Now, not even like high sugar chocolate, but some people will react to just like if they eat even like a baking chocolate bar, or like just a lot of chocolate. And I don't even know if that's a food sensitivity. Is there anything in chocolate that can provoke food acne that you know of?
So low sugar, well, it still has dairy,
Some of them, the milk chocolate.
Go back to
Yeah.
Other than the dairy and the sugar, I haven't seen that a whole lot.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I know growing up, my brother had acne, and my mom's actually a naturopath. And she wasn't at that time, but she was like all into this stuff. She later became a naturopath. And she was like, that's because he keeps eating chocolate and fried foods. And so for me, it motivated me, because I was like, well, I don't want to have acne. So, so I stopped eating a lot of that kind of stuff, and it helped. So for sure. All right. Well, let's talk about the best foods people should be focused on to help improve their skin.
Yeah. So, would I say they're like, 5 foods that cure acne in everybody? No, but are there, dietary choices that people can make on a regular basis to make a big difference in their acne? Absolutely. And what I always try to remind people of is every time you're eating, it's a chance to either fight inflammation or fuel it. So that's how I like to think of it. So when I'm thinking about foods to bring down inflammation and fight acne, I'm thinking of foods that are nutrient dense. So nutrient dense whole foods, not the junk food, not the processed stuff, but nutrient dense whole foods, foods that support the liver, um, foods that are low in sugar and high in fiber to keep the blood sugar stabilized. So some examples could be like wild caught salmon. Wild caught salmon is a great food. It's nutrient dense, high in omega 3s, the active form of vitamin A, vitamin B6, vitamin D. And then it also has a really powerful antioxidant in it called astaxanthin.
Yeah.
And so astaxanthin is the most powerful antioxidant that we know of right now. So I certainly think of salmon as a great food. Things like green tea, high in antioxidants. The epigallocatechin, the EGCG, it helps to lower testosterone levels as well, helps to regulate blood sugar. So I would think of that as something as being a great food. Things like berries that are high in antioxidants, low in calories, kind of quench that sweet tooth. High in fiber, dark leafy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables that are things like kale, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts that can help support liver function and help with healthy hormone metabolism. So those are just some examples. Yeah.
Good. I would also add in there avocados.
Yeah,
avocados actually,
is a great one.
I don't know if you know this, they actually have a carbohydrate called the D-manoheptulose sugar that's found in avocados. It's been shown to improve the skin epidermis and it helps boost collagen formation.
Oh, that's a great pearl.
And lots of lutein and zeaxanthin as well, which are great for the eyes, great for the skin. So yeah, really good one. Yeah. So that's why I eat an avocado a day.
Yeah. Yeah, those are some great pearls. I would add avocados as well.
Yeah, for sure. Now, are you a fan of intermittent fasting? And can that be something people can do as well?
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of intermittent fasting. So, and it's not just acne. I talk a little bit about time restricted eating.
Yeah.
And meal timing. So I don't think I use that term specifically, but time restricted eating and meal timing, that can be a form of intermittent fasting.
Absolutely.
And people can see a lot of improvement in their blood sugar, no matter where they are on the spectrum. So if they're diabetic, if they're pre-diabetic, if they have insulin resistance or just mild blood sugar dysregulation, that can be a really helpful tool for them, and it's easy to do. Something as simple as going 12 hours between your dinner and your breakfast the next day. Something as simple as making sure you have at least 4 hours between your meals so you're not grazing all the time. Things like that can be really helpful to help manage blood sugar, and it's not, something extra that you have to take. And one thing that I try to educate people a lot on is with fasting, intermittent fasting, digestion takes so much energy. It requires so much energy from the body. So anytime you can give your body a break from digestion, you're stimulating your body's natural ability to heal itself, because then it can divert that energy to other cellular processes, which I'm sure you talk about a lot in your book.
Oh, just a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I talk about fasting. This podcast, if anybody's been listening for any length of time, we do some in-depth discussions all about fasting, intermittent fasting,
Yeah.
extended fasting. Huge advocate of
Yeah.
it. And that's really
Mm-hmm.
because, Shayna, I don't know if I told you this in my story, but I had
Mm-hmm.
irritable bowel syndrome in my early 20s. And,
Mm-hmm.
intermittent fasting was really the
Mm-hmm.
probably the single most important tool, along with an elimination diet,
Mm-hmm.
that allowed me to regain my health. Right. So,
Wow.
I didn't even know the term. I just knew, when I compressed my feeding window, to like a 4 to 5 hour window, I just felt so much better. And this back in 2005, before anybody was talking about
Wow.
that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyways, I'm a huge advocate, really like an I'm evangelical about intermittent and extended fasting. So we're huge on that. And I definitely think it is a huge player when it comes to helping improve your skin. People that practice intermittent fasting on a regular basis, and they definitely have the best skin. You'll see they age slower,
Right.
a lot less problems with acne. And that's because it gets that insulin level down, right? And when you get better insulin sensitivity, it's going to help balance your hormones, reduce inflammation in your system, help you detoxify more effectively, and help you heal the gut lining, like you were talking about. So, yeah, really powerful stuff there. Now, let's talk about supplements. What are some of the top supplements? And I know you do like customized supplement plans, obviously, because you're a functional medicine doctor and you want to do precision medicine,
Right.
working specifically with people. But with that said, what would you say have been the best supplements that you've seen over the years help people improve acne?
Yeah, so I would say a good multi for
Yeah,
sure. And not just taking any multi, but looking at it, the label, and making sure that it has high levels of some of those nutrients that I discussed in the book that are more correlated with acne. Um, Vitamin D for sure,
yeah,
especially during the winter months. A lot of times people have more acne in the winter, due
right.
to vitamin D deficiency. Omega 3s, again,
Mm, yeah,
supplementing those is a really good idea. Sometimes B vitamins, sometimes doing a B
yeah,
complex can be a great thing. Antioxidants. So
right.
sometimes doing like a combination antioxidant formula can be really helpful for
Yeah,
people.
yeah, for sure. I'm with you on all of those. I will tell you one that I really like. I also have I also developed skin cancer in my late 20s as well.
Oh.
And a supplement that I take on a regular basis that I feel like is so good just for skin health and reducing inflammation. Okay. And I also
Mm-hmm.
use intermittent fasting and ketogenic diet to heal naturally from that. But I love resveratrol. And so I take a
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
resveratrol quercetin combination. It's kind of a high dose resveratrol and quercetin.
Mm-hmm.
And so good because, you think about it, it's like comes from the skin of the grape, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like anthocyanins also, like the skin of the blueberry, right? Helping protect it against radiation. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
almost like, it's that law of similars, like equals like, right? So it's like the
Mm-hmm.
skin of some of these things have nutrients that can help benefit our skin.
Yeah, and so those are actually in a lot of combination
Right.
antioxidant formulas, and even the EGCG from the green
Right.
tea
Yep.
that we were talking about. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. All
Mhm.
really, really good stuff. So love
Mhm.
those powerful nutrients, getting those in on a regular basis. Let's talk about me. You have beautiful skin. So let's talk about
Oh,
your,
thank you.
and you're a busy doctor. And
Mhm.
you also talked about in the book how when you were going through medical school, you had a lot of stress. And,
Mhm.
you noticed the stress was triggering more acne.
Mhm.
So let's talk about two things. Let's talk about the impact of stress and how that can trigger more
Mhm.
acne. And then let's talk about your routine, like what you're doing on a regular basis to keep your stress down, to, optimize your health and keep your skin looking really good.
Okay. So we're starting with how
The impact
stress
of
can trigger
stress.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the impact of stress, is so far reaching throughout the body. Um, and that's why it's so important to be aware of it and control it. So stress, if we go back to even talking about gut health. So we've been talking about gut health and we've been talking about leaky gut. So everything we've talked about, I can relate to stress in some way, but we can start with the gut. So, stress triggers leaky gut in a lot of people. Stress, it shifts the microbiome. So it triggers derangements in the microbiome. Stress, it can cause nutrient deficiencies because there's certain requirements that go up during times of stress. And so if you're not compensating for that, you can develop, more nutritional deficiencies and antioxidants, things like vitamin C, some of the B vitamins, even magnesium, which helps with regulating blood sugar.
Yeah.
So those things for sure. Stress, it can also trigger blood. It can also contribute to blood sugar dysregulation, just in general.
Yeah, it's interesting. In the book, we talked about, like, there was like a study where they looked at medical students, I believe it was, trying to find it in here, and they had higher amounts of acne like during exam periods and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So it's interesting, right? So obviously, we all know that stress can be a major factor, certainly can be a factor when it comes to, acne and what's happening with your skin. So let's talk about Dr. Shayna Peter's daily routine, what you're doing on a regular basis.
My daily routine, so I'm a tea person, so I drink a lot of tea, green tea, white tea, both high in antioxidants. I take my supplements.
Yep.
Supplement every single day. And I check people don't think sometimes that I'm doing the same things that I'm recommending for them, but I check my vitamin levels at least once a year to make sure that they're optimal.
What supplements are you taking right now as we're doing this?
What supplements am I taking right now?
Like what nutrients, what things are you taking?
I am taking an omega-3. So I take a combination, one that has omega-3, 6, and 9.
Okay.
I do vitamin D. I do a multi, and I do an antioxidant.
Yep. Yeah. Great balance right there. Yep. And then are you doing 3 meals a day, 2 meals a day? What are you doing as far as your nutrition goes?
So I do 3 meals, sometimes 2.5. So a lot of times breakfast is light for me. Sometimes I'll just have tea. Sometimes I'll just have something very light.
Yep.
And I try not to graze during the day. I admit it can be hard, especially, when you're working from home and during the lockdown and things like that.
Yeah.
But not grazing throughout the day, avoiding snacking, and really trying to eat nutrient-dense foods, because I notice personally, when you eat real food that's satisfying, that's nutrient-dense, it's healthy, you don't need to snack. You don't have that urge to snack as much.
What are some of your favorite meals? Do you do like a protein shake on a regular basis, a big salad? What's kind of your typical go-tos?
Definitely a salad person. I love salads, and anyone that knows me, they're like, "You make it look so pretty." You
get everything with the different colors, bell peppers in there, tomato, cucumbers.
Yeah, for sure. I do like a lot of avocados. What else? Salmon. I'm a big salmon, a big fish person, seafood. I love a lot of vegetables, cooked different ways, steaming, roasting, raw vegetables, all those types of things. I like a lot of Mediterranean types of foods too, like olive, hummus, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love Mediterranean as well. I'm with you on that. Yeah, one of my favorites is we make this Mediterranean salad. I've got the recipe on my website, but we've got black olives, artichokes in there, hearts of palm, cucumbers, tomato. I think I'm missing something, onions right in there. So good. Yeah. I love it. And then we put put the Primal brand Greek dressing. It's got like avocado oil base on that.
Oh yeah,
so good. Yeah, so good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now, what are you doing for exercise? And when do you like to exercise? Is it in the morning, midday? When are you trying to get that in?
I like the idea of exercising in the morning. It doesn't always happen for me.
Yeah.
So it depends on how my day went. So sometimes I might try to get it in the evening, but I do work out a lot on the weekends. I get a lot of, I try to make up for.
What do you like to do for working out?
So I love walking. I'm a huge walker, jogging, dancing. So I'm a big dance person, and Zumba, kickboxing types of things. Yeah.
Get that heart rate up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And I do some yoga too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what are you doing to help keep stress under control? Because, you and I both know doctors are some of the most stressed out people. So we definitely have to have daily practices to keep stress under control. And then what do you do to help optimize your sleep?
For yoga, I've been doing that a lot more to help with the relaxation. And there's been some studies too that I've seen recently that it really activates that parasympathetic response.
Sure.
Yeah, I like doing yoga. Castor oil packs sometimes at night are a good way to help,
now, how are you
relax.
How are you doing the castor oil? Are you putting it like on your liver? Are you putting it over your ovaries, your stomach? Where do you like to put it?
I put it over my stomach.
Yeah, right.
I put it over my stomach. But you can put it over your liver as a way to help stimulate detoxification.
Yeah, it drains those bile ducts. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, and then, just setting boundaries. Sometimes you just have to set boundaries and, at this time, no more work.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it's hard to do when you're a go-getter, right? When you're a goal setter.
Right, yes.
When you're writing a book, right? It's not easy.
Not at all.
Yeah. And then are you a late night person? You like to sleep in or do you like to go to bed early? What's kind of your typical routine there?
Probably somewhere in the middle. I'm not a night owl.
Yeah.
I'm not like a super early riser, but I'm not that person that sleeps late.
Yeah,
either.
For sure. What's your typical sleep schedule like?
Usually like 10 to 6 or 11 to 7.
Yeah, that's good. That's typically what I'm doing as well. Something like that. Usually 10 to 6 during the week and like 11 to 7 on the weekends. So yeah, it's good not to deviate. So a lot of people will go like 2 or 3 hours or like stay up 2 or 3 hours later on the weekends. And that can totally throw off your circadian rhythms. So you want to kind of keep it in that hour range. So I think that's really good. Well, this has been a really great interview. We've gone through so much. And you also have a free gift, the first 2 chapters of your book. Guys, you can go to, and we'll have the link in the show notes, but it's not just acne.com/gifts. And you get the first 2 chapters of her book. She'll email those over to you so you can check that out. And then if people are interested in working with you, what's the best website for them to go to?
wellaheadchicago.com.
Yeah. And let's talk quickly about that. What does that look like for somebody to work with you as far as kind of the process?
Yeah, so we would talk about some labs. So I like to get a lot of information in that initial appointment so I can have a better understanding of what they're going through and what their biggest concerns are. And then we'll talk about labs based on that. And then once we get the labs in, then we do a review of findings and develop a plan to move forward and how we can correct those imbalances and how they can maintain things over the long term. So I'm really excited. There's a lot of work we've been doing to help people a lot with the lifestyle piece and being able to maintain a lot of the lifestyle changes in a way that's doable.
So good. And it's important because acne obviously can be a huge thing for somebody's self-esteem without a doubt. But acne is really a reflection that there's problems going on inside, right? That you're at a much greater risk of chronic disease on the inside. And so if you're out there and you've tried nutrition changes, you've tried some of the things we've talked about, and yet you're not seeing changes with your skin, your acne, different things like that, definitely reach out to Dr. Peter here because you definitely want the guidance. And, you can live you can live free of acne. And also at the same time, by eliminating that, you're also going to really dramatically reduce your risk of chronic disease and improve your overall health, your energy levels, your vitality. So this is a key thing that you've got to look at, and hiring an expert like Dr. Peter is a great idea. Now, last question, one thing we didn't talk about was skincare. What do you do for your skin? Like, as far as like topically, and we talked all about being on everything on the inside, which is really the root cause of acne. But a lot of people are interested too in what things they can do on the outside for their skin. What should they be looking at for like a good skincare routine?
Yeah, so I actually have a chapter on that in the book as well. So I'm a huge fan of people being on a good skincare regimen that is suited for their skin type. So if people don't know what their skin type is, we actually have a quiz on the website that can help them to figure that out. So that's key. That's going to be really key. So using products that are suited for your skin type. I'm a big fan, even if you're young, using products that help to heal the skin barrier and have some anti-aging benefits to them as well.
Yeah.
But your skincare routine, it doesn't have to be, super complicated.
Yeah.
A cleanser, toner, moisturizer, sunscreen, something that has anti-aging ingredients. You could do a serum. You might do like more serums in the winter time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, but I'm a fan of people being on just a good skincare regimen all the time, for sure.
Yeah, and like all natural ingredients, trying to minimize toxins.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clean, I guess that's the buzzword.
Yeah, clean.
Clean
exactly.
beauty.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so important. So yeah, really great interview, great tips here. Any last words of inspiration for our audience?
Yeah, I mean, it's doable. All of these things are doable. And I always want to encourage people struggling with acne, not to be depressed about it. Change how you see it as an opportunity to optimize your health. And you can have, clear skin and better health than you ever thought possible.
Yeah, so good. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Dr. Shayna. We appreciate it. Guys, again, the book is It's Not Just Acne. You can find that on Amazon. And also, again, you can get her free 2 chapters if you're interested in just checking it out, see if it's a good book for you. That is at itsnotjustacne.com/gifts. So guys, check that out. Thanks again, Dr. Shayna. We appreciate you and your time and your expertise. Guys, we'll see you on a future podcast. Be blessed, everybody.